Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here at Monday Mornings at Maine. My name is Heather Miller, and I am one of the adult programming librarians here at the La Crosse Public Library. Thanks for coming out on a cold, wet, rainy day in November, but we've got plenty of hot coffee in the back. So thanks again for being here. Well, as we enter the season of gratitude and we're about to kick off the holidays, definitely puts us in the mood for nostalgia. So we've got a great program today as we're going to be learning about Recollection, Wisconsin. So please give a warm welcome to some friends and co-librarians. Kristen Whitson and Scott Brouwer from LPL Archives are going to be talking about Recollection, Wisconsin.
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you, Heather, for inviting me and letting me bring Scott Brouwer along with us. So Scott is an archivist upstairs, and he's going to talk for a little bit about La Crosse-specific resources. But as Heather said, my name's Kristen. I work for an organization called Recollection, Wisconsin. Has anybody heard of or used Recollection, Wisconsin? One person. Then it's a good thing I'm here to tell you all about it. So here's what we're going to do today. These aren't slides. I'm going to do like a demonstration of what Recollection Wisconsin is and how you can use it to find local history resources or any historical resources that you're interested in. Heather's going to be passing out some handouts so that you can take notes on there if you want to, or you don't have to remember how to do all of this in case you want to do this research on your own. And also, I'm pretty casual. Feel free to stop me with questions if you have them as we go, okay? So Recollection Wisconsin is a website for digital history. And we have 250 different historical societies, libraries, museums, cultural organizations. They digitize their materials, so they scan them and turn them into digital history materials. And then they all feed into our website right here in one place so that you can see them all in one place. Does that make sense so far? Okay. So we're what's called a hub of the Digital Public Library of America, which I'm also going to show you. The Digital Public Library of America has hubs just like Recollection, Wisconsin, in most of the different states. So that means you can search the entire country's digital collections at the Digital Public Library of America. And I'm going to show you how those all kind of relate to each other and how you can search them for historical materials. Okay? Okay. So the first thing I want to show you is that this is Recollection Wisconsin's website. And when you come to the website, you can either put in a history term here that you're looking for, right here at the top, this search box, or here's where we're going to start. Explore. You can look at all of our materials by organization that has contributed them, by format, by subject. I want to show you something, which is if you browse by partner, there's a whole map. This is where all of the organizations throughout the state that have contributed digital history materials are located. So you can see they're all over the state, all over the place. This is all 250 of them. So if we're looking real close at where we are right now, you can see all of these different organizations have digital history materials in Recollection, Wisconsin. Okay? All right. So let me show you what that looks like when you're actually searching. And this can all be used for who does like genealogical or local history types of research? A few of you? Good. Yep. You can use this for that too. So let's say I just want to see what information is in Recollection, Wisconsin about where we are right now, which is La Crosse. I just type in La Crosse at that search bar up at the top. Can you see that? Everybody see it? Okay. And then I hit search. And we get 51,722 results for La Crosse. It's a big town. There's a lot of information in here. So if you look over here on the left side of the screen, who's used filters to search before? Do you know about filters? A few folks? Good. So filters are a way to narrow down this 51,722 results. And Recollection Wisconsin has several different types of filters. You can say, I would like to only see results that are images. I would only like to see results that are sounds, like audio recordings. If you scroll down a little bit more here, you can specify what dates you're looking for. You can specify what language these are in. And what I want to show you is you can specify what the contributing institution is, meaning who scanned this photograph or this postcard and who put it in Recollection, Wisconsin. With me so far? Okay. Stop me if you have questions. So you'll see that the University of Wisconsin Digital Collections, they have a ton of materials. This is the UW Center down in Madison, and they have digitized stuff from all over the state. So we'll look at that in just a second. You can also see there's 17,000 materials from the University of Wisconsin La Crosse, right here in La Crosse, which makes sense. La Crosse would have a lot of lacrosse-related materials. There's materials from Viterbo University, from the Winding Rivers Library System, which is this library is a part of. You can see there's also the, where's La Crosse Public Library Archives? Right here, right here. And so Scott's gonna show you a little bit more about those in a little while. So this is how you narrow down what you're looking for by partner. But you can also narrow down by all of these other criteria: collections, language, location, all of that. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you click on one of these things. La Crosse Broomworks. Does anybody know about La Crosse Broomworks? I've never heard of that before. So you click on this, it brings you to the item, and it tells you a little bit of information right here. But what you really want to do is click on View Full Item, because then you see it in its original sort of location. And here's one thing I want to tell you. Every result that you click on, it might look a little bit different when you get into it. Some are saved in this type of system and some are in this type of system. Don't be alarmed if they look a little bit different. The information is all the same and the image is all the same, okay? So you'll see that this image opened in a new tab. So this is where we were. And then we clicked View Full Item, and it opens up into a new tab. Okay? So this is apparently what La Crosse Broomworks is. If we want to expand this image, we click on that little arrows in the corner. What is this? It doesn't look like brooms. What's that? Straw? Is that straw, really? Corn brooms? Oh, what's a corn broom? This is going to be a whole different educational session in a second. We can see we're next to the La Crosse Fur and Hide Company, so that's kind of nice. So if you open this image, you can zoom in on it, you can zoom out in it using these buttons up here in the corner. Zoom in, zoom out, and then you can close it when you're done. So this is just one of those 51,722 items that you find when you search for La Crosse in Recollection, Wisconsin. If you keep scrolling down here, you can see that there's a description here. That's what abstract means, is description. There's information about where this came from, what size the original is. And so what you can do is, if you're interested in then seeing this in person, actually we didn't talk about this, but can I tell them that they can just come here if it says La Crosse Public Library, and you ask for this nice gentleman over here, and he will help you see this La Crosse Broomworks picture in person if you would like to actually see the original photo. Now that's only if this organization name says La Crosse Public Library. If it says the Mauston Public Library, you'd have to go to the Mauston Public Library. That's a very good question. For what? What format am I looking at? Yeah, that's a very good question. So I'm going to give you a short answer and then a longer answer. So the short answer is, oh, the question was, how can we use these materials? Like if you're putting together a PowerPoint for a local organization or you want to share it with others, what are the limitations on use? Does that make sense? So the short answer to your question is probably, as long as you're not making any money off of it. Okay? If you're going to publish it in a book or in some other format, you want to be a little bit more careful about that. And what I mean by more careful is every one of these items has something called a rights statement. And that rights statement will tell you how you can use the item. So it's a link. If you click on it, it will take you right to the language that says, here's how you can use this item. In this case, this says that the organization, in this case, the La Crosse Public Library, has done the research and has determined there is no known copyright, meaning you can use it however you would like. Did I get that pretty much right? Okay. That's a really good question. Right. If there are significant restrictions on it, it wouldn't be in Recollection, Wisconsin, or in the La Crosse Public Library Archives digital collection. Okay. Yep, good question. All right, so this is just one of those 51,000 items, right? I'm going to go back to our search results here. One moment, please. There we go. There's our 51,000 items. And like I said, remember you can filter these all down. If you have questions about usage, there is a filter here for can I use this unlimited? Do I have permission? Can I use it but not modify it? These right statuses right here are also another filter, okay? All right, so this is in Recollection, Wisconsin. Now, I mentioned the Digital Public Library of America. That's sort of the umbrella organization for all of the Recollection Wisconsins across the country. Here's what that looks like. Digital Public Library of America. And I'm going to search for the same thing. So what might happen here is that somebody has lived in La Crosse, has family in La Crosse, they've moved away, they have materials that they donated to their own historical society in Montana or California or somewhere, Maine, somewhere else. And those historical societies digitize those items and put them into their version of Recollection, Wisconsin, and they all come together under the Digital Public Library of America umbrella. Does that make sense? So that means that everything that we just saw, those 51,000 items, are going to show up in the Digital Public Library of America. And so are probably some other things. We'll see what others outside of Wisconsin. 53,000. That means there's 2,000 more items related to La Crosse in the Digital Public Library of America. So for instance, the East Carolina University has a postcard of the La Crosse Hospital in La Crosse, Wisconsin. That's interesting. Let's see what that item looks like. And this is what I meant by saying that each of the items is going to look a little bit different. So remember, we were looking at our La Crosse Broomworks, and this is sort of what the page looks like. It's got echo on top, and the filter, the information down here looks like this. The La Crosse Hospital is from a different university entirely. So they have different heading at the top. Their interface looks a little bit different. The information about this is similar information, but it's just set up a little bit differently. So just don't be alarmed if you see that. They might all look a little bit different, but it's the same information. So here we have the La Crosse Hospital in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And we can see the back of that postcard. If we scroll down a little bit, here's our description. Color postcard of the exterior of La Crosse Hospital in La Crosse, Wisconsin, published by the Spence McCord Drug Company. Was that a local company? It looks like it. Yep. And let's see. I don't know that I see a whole lot of other information about how they got this material. But if I had to guess, this says location of original, the hospital postcard collection from the Laupus Library History Collections. It sounds like they have a whole hospital postcard collection, and the La Crosse Hospital is in that collection. There is so much information available to you through the Digital Public Library of America and Recollection, Wisconsin. And archivists, just like us all over the country, are busily digitizing as much as we can so that people can see it and use it. Yes? Yes, it tends to be, do you mean Digital Public Library of America, La Crosse Hospital postcard, or Recollection, Wisconsin? If you Google Recollection, Wisconsin, you'll get to our website, which is this one, okay? If you Google La Crosse Hospital Historic Postcard, you will probably get a result for this postcard. I say probably because Google's search engine is dominated by sponsored, results, and the East Carolina University isn't paying Google to pop this result up to the top. But it will probably be on the list of results somewhere. Questions so far? Digital Public Library of America, Recollection, Wisconsin. Okay. I would like you all to be thinking about, I would like somebody to give me an example of something you'd like to search for in Recollection, Wisconsin. So I'm going to show you one more set of filters and some more information about organizations, but be thinking about if there's something you'd like me to search for, and we'll see if we can find it, okay? All right, so when we looked on this map, if you remember, there are several organizations around La Crosse. So let's look at some of the others. The Knudsen Memorial Library down in Coon Valley, the library up in Holman, the library, the system in West Salem. So all of these are tied into one collection, really. So if you don't want to search through the entire Recollection, Wisconsin, you just want to go to one organization, you can do that. You can find La Crosse Public Library. You can find UW La Crosse on that list that I showed you. You can find the La Crosse County Historical Society or the Winding Rivers Library System, okay? This sort of narrows down your results for you. The Winding Rivers Library System has a collection that has all of these different content partners in it, meaning all of these different libraries that contribute. You have to click through several view collections to get there. Just stick with it. And the Winding Rivers Library System has 2,078 items in it. And these are not all just from La Crosse. These are the whole Winding Rivers Library System service area. So you can see we have New Lisbon in here, Onalaska, Wanawak. I happen to know that there's some Mauston in here, Necedah. And these are what these images would look like. This is the what year did that say? 1929 Wanawak High School basketball team. And whoever digitized this noted that it was donated by this person, this Phil person, but we must not have had the information about who all of these people are because those names are not in the description. The reason that I tell you that is because if you're looking for somebody's name in particular, like you're looking for an ancestor of yours, a relative of yours, it doesn't mean that they're not pictured, but if they're not named in this description, you're not going to be able to search for them. There's no way for the system to just look at faces and say, oh, I know that that's, Joe Smith that we're looking for. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you're doing local history research, that means you might have to not only search for the name of somebody that you're looking for or the name of a location, you might have to try a few different angles. You might have to go to the La Crosse County Historical Society's site and look specifically at just their collections. If you know somebody was in Wanawak or in Mauston or another part of the state, you might have to go to a library or an organization in that part of the state or search for that city and then look through all the materials to see if you can see what it is that you're looking for. But try searching with a name or a keyword first. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, who's got a search term for me? Oh, yes, go ahead. Yes. Probably. So I say probably because it takes just time and money for every high school or library or historical society to digitize yearbooks, but digitizing yearbooks and getting them online is very popular. Lots of people want to see the yearbooks, so lots of places have digitized yearbooks. So like what, can you give me an example of what high school you're thinking of? Yes, uh-huh. Yes, absolutely. Okay, that's okay. But you're here now. That's the important thing. Uh-huh, yep. And a lot of times those yearbook pages, when they have a lot of text on them, you can search those names a lot of times. Not 100% of the time, but most of the time. Okay, yes. Yeah, sure. Is there a name of the, okay. Racine, Wisconsin cable car. Let's start there. Let's leave it kind of broad and see what happens. Aw. Racine, Wisconsin cable. Hang on. We're not nearly done yet. Okay, so let's see. Racine Cable, there's an item from the Wisconsin Historical Society that is a local and interline freight forwarded. This is from Neilsville though, so that's not the same thing as Racine. Let's see here. The reason it says that is because there's a destination in Racine, it looks like, on this line, this train line, but it's not the same thing as what you're looking for. Carriage company. Okay. So just to show you how I'm navigating this, just remember, you don't have to hit back on these items when you open them. Just close this tab or leave it open and go back to your other tab, your search tab. Okay. Racine carriage. Okay. Preservation Racine newsletter. Okay, this might give us some leads. So it looks like, ooh, Racine carriage houses and barns. So this is from an organization called Preservation Racine, and they've scanned all of their newsletters and put them online. So it looks like they've talked about the carriage company. Now this is 1980, so it's not super, I mean, in my mind, 1980 is like still 10 or 15 years ago. So, so it's not super historic, but it looks like they have an article about Racine carriage houses and barns by Dorothy Osborne that might give you some more search terms. Like if you find the name of the company that you're thinking of or people who were involved in it, you might be able to grab some more search terms, okay? The other thing you can do, there's two more things you can do. One is that you can search in the Digital Public Library of America, so one level higher than just Wisconsin. Let's see if we come up with anything. Racine carriage. I don't know that there's a lot of other Racines in the company, so, or in the country. Okay, so that pulls up a few more things. This gives us that Preservation Racine newsletter that we just saw. There's also some other things. One from Denver, that's not going to help us. You would want to look at each one of these things and see if they apply to the Racine carriage company that you're looking for. Make sense? The last thing I would recommend is that if you can't find it online, I will tell you that about 10%, maybe a little bit more, but 10% of all historical materials that are in archives are scanned and online. 90% are not online. So that means that you would want to find the Historical Society or public library that does local history in Racine and call them and ask them, do you have anything in your collections on the Racine Carriage Company? And that brings us just these two results, which were already on the list. So again, you'd want to take a look at them and see what they're telling you and if there's any more information that can be found. Because this one, it looks like, this is from Denver, but there's a sign that says Racine Horse and Carriage, it says. Let's see. Yeah, you'd want to, I'm not going to make everybody watch me do it, but there's a sign, like, why is there a sign in Denver, Colorado for the Racine Horse and Carriage Company? That's very interesting. Okay. Does that make sense? That sort of search path. You can look in Recollection, Wisconsin. You can look in the Digital Public Library of America. And if those things fail, or you're just getting information but not exactly an image or an item that you're looking for, try getting in touch with a local organization. Okay? Yeah. Yes. That's a very good question. Some is the short answer. There's a much longer answer that is going to be very boring to everybody. But some is the answer to that. So yes, there's 20 results in Recollection, Wisconsin for the Peshtigo fire. There's a Peshtigo fire map. There's an oral history interview with somebody who is talking about his memories of the 1871 fire. There's all there's a desk used in Peshtigo. I wonder if that has some fire damage on it. So yes, there are many interesting things that are related to the Peshtigo fire. So again, this is Recollection, Wisconsin. If we try this in the Digital Public Library of America, that one higher level, let's see what else we got. 29 results. The Denver Public, why is Denver so interested in Wisconsin? The Denver Public Library has an image of the Great Fire at Peshtigo. Very interesting. It's a wood engraving. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's searching. I want to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Scott over here. So I'm going to go right back to Recollection, Wisconsin's homepage. I want to show you one particular project that we've done that might be of interest to you. It's called Listening to War. And several years ago, some colleagues of mine went around the state finding different historical societies and libraries that had oral histories with people who were talking about their experiences of war. And that could be they had a relative who served in the military. That could be they were refugees who came here on the heels of a war. That could mean they were, military spouses. And there are lots and lots of oral histories. And the recordings themselves date from the 1970s, but there are people talking about their memories of even older. I think this goes back to, I think the oldest war discussed in here is World War II, but it might be World War I. So if you scroll through these, World War I, here we go. You can see people talking about all of these different wartime experiences. And if you click on them, you can listen to the oral history interviews, and there are transcripts right here in the website. All right. Okay. There's a lot more we could talk about, but I want to turn this over to Scott, and we'll save some time for questions at the end.
Hello, I'm Scott. I work upstairs in the archives. I know I recognize some of you from joining us up there for other things. I've also been at this program Monday mornings at Maine for other things, so I may have recognized a few of you from that as well. So a couple things that I would like to show you today is we're going to narrow in kind of on the collections that we have digitized here that show up in Recollection, Wisconsin. And the way that I'm going to show that is by going browse by partner. So again, right from Recollection, Wisconsin page, there's a couple ways to access it. We're going to go down here. Instead of kind of trying to find it on the map, I'm just going to go right here. So La Crosse Public Library Archives, you can see where my cursor is there. I'm just going to click on that. And that gets us to our contributions to the WiLS project, the Winding Rivers Project, Explore Cultural History Online. But we have our own collections, digital collections here. So by clicking on that, we get to another page again. Sometimes we have to click through several things. View collection, that's where we want to go. Right there. And this is accessible through our own website as well, the La Crosse Public Library Archives website, which I might get a chance to show you at the end. But I wanted to kind of show you through Recollection, Wisconsin, since that's what we were focusing on today, how to get to this. So as you saw the East Carolina University, you saw the Winding Rivers Project. if you were to click on something from Recollection, Wisconsin that is from our collections, La Crosse Public Library collections, you might land on this. And again, as Kristen mentioned, it may just look a little different, right? You're seeing the same thing. When I click into one of these things, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see the full image. You're going to see the description information, all those things. So I just want to highlight a few of these things. And this might be a place that you just spend some time and look around. So that's why we have those browse on the top there. So we've got browse collections. We've got the sub collections. So I'm up on the top here. I'm going to click on browse collections when I get a chance there. So this kind of gives you some just visual representation of the types of materials that are in there. So we've got all these different collections. So the health and social services, we've got government materials, city directories. I'm going to highlight a few of these things. La Crosse histories and biographies, local church histories, the Mariel Exodus photo project, which is really a brand new project for us that just launched in the fall. And I'll show you a couple things specific to that. Some music items there as well. So I'm going to back up and go back out to the browse, the titles, because then all those sub collections are here. So area historical photos. We don't have very many photos on this platform. I will say that right away. The photos we have contributed to Recollection Wisconsin live in that Winding Rivers Library System, the ECHO project, the Exploring Cultural History Online, which you already saw a brief part of that. So that is the best place for you to find photos from our collections. Again, we have a very substantial physical photo collection upstairs, most of which has not been digitized and made available, as mentioned by Kristen. So that's one thing to say right off the bat, is that if you are looking for historical photos of the area, your best bet is still probably going to be, because you live here and we're open every day, for you just to show up and look upstairs with us and we can help you find some photos. But anyway, so some of these sub-collections, the arts and architecture, a lot of these are books, actually. So books that we see people requesting quite a lot. We have made the decision, because it's time and money to digitize, we've made the decision to digitize those things to make them a little more available. So something like this historic La Crosse book, if you were to click into it, it's kind of like looking at flipping pages, because you've got on the side here, that's every page right there, right? So you can go page by page looking at the book. And you can make it shows nice and big. You can make it smaller if you want to see kind of the full page at once. You can do that. I'm just using the zoom thing right up here. You can move it around. You can scroll up with it. You can do lots of things. You can go page by page just right here if you want to. Lots of different ways to kind of flip through this book. There's the table of contents, right? So you can even find what page you want. You can type a page number in. I just want to see the religious buildings. I need to go to page 38. So you can drop this down, page 38, and there's your start of the religious buildings, or should have been the start of the religious buildings. There's some things, public structures, I must have bounced through it there. So parks, public structures, that sort of thing. So that's there. I'm going to go back to the browse titles. So that's the art and architecture. Again, I'm going to go back one more. Going to see those sub collections there. Business and industries. Let's look at the city directories. This is a very popular usage, obviously. We use the city directories for a lot of things. We have a full run of city directories upstairs, again, physical, that you can hold in your hand, you can browse, but they're available here. Up to 1963, they are available here. There are copyright issues once you get beyond 1963 for them to be publicly available on the internet. So we don't put them there, but you can come and look at them upstairs. But up to 1963 is here, which is a pretty big chunk of time for historical research. Yes, they are. So yes, so she asked if they are optical character recognition. She said OCR, and she used a big acronym. But that means they're full text searchable, which is wonderful. And the particular platform we use for our digital content is called Rescarta. Rescarta does a good job of full text searching, where it finds exactly what you want to find. So, for example, I'm going to use the simple search tab here to search these city directories. So where I was before, when I was here, you can click into any one of these. You can see it starts with 1866, goes all the way up to 1963. They're basically every other year for a big chunk of that time. That's what was available. But you can click into it, you can browse it. If you know a year you want to look for, you can just find it by name. You know how to search a city directory. It's alphabetical. When you get to the 1910s and beyond, then you have not only an alphabetical list of people and businesses, but you have a street listing, right? So it's like a separate indexing to the material. So if you know, okay, I lived on Cass Street, the 1400 block of Cass Street. What was my neighbor's name again, right? But you don't know the neighbor's name, you can't look them up in a directory, but you can look in the street listing, look for your address, and then right next door, the name will be right below it, right? So that's a way to do that. But what you usually do with these city directories is you search. So I'm going to specify down to the city directories. You can be searching, much like with Recollection, Wisconsin, much like Digital Public Library of America. You can do a broad search of everything we have available right here. You can see everything, all the collections are clicked, it defaults to searching everything. I'm going to unclick that so that all I'm searching is the directories. So if I go there, city directories, I'm going to do one thing that we get questions about a lot, right? La Crosse is a brewing industry town. We get asked about the taverns and the saloons, right? So I'm going to show you, I'm going to search for saloons. Okay, so that's the word saloons that shows up in every directory, right? So I'm going to sort them, first of all. Different way to sort them. We can go by publication date, just so that they're in order, right? So I'm going to go down. You can see every directory has the word saloons in it, right? There's a yellow pages, much like a yellow pages, right? Even on all these very early ones, there's something like the yellow pages where hospitals, doctors, groceries, that sort of thing. You can look at all those things. But so 1917, let's start there. I clicked on it. It pulls me right to the page where the word saloon would be found. And again, this is kind of the yellow pages section. Oops, didn't mean to grab that. I should be using a mouse instead of that. But you can see there's, 24 here. I'm going to use the mouse instead. 24 here. And that's just A through C, right? So next page, full page, right? Oh, even goes 3 pages. Might even go 4 pages. 4 pages of saloons, right? In 1917, okay? So we looked at that. Let's go back. 1919, okay, again, it finds where the word saloons is. Oh, there's a listing, and it might be on another page as well, 656 there. But again, we've got these pages, a few pages, probably 100 saloons, 1919, right, in La Crosse. You know exactly where I'm headed here, right? Okay, so now we go to 1922. What do you think is going to happen to the saloons page? Anybody have a guess? Okay, but it's there, right? No, it's the word saloons is in the 1922 directory. It's a result here. Anybody have an idea what it's gonna show? You ready? C, soft drinks. Okay, so let's go find soft drinks. Do you think there's gonna be 100 soft drinks? Let's see. There's soft drinks. 2 pages, 3 pages. Selling a lot of soda at the 60, 70 soft drink emporiums that survived the first part of Prohibition. Now, if you were to go deeper into Prohibition, that list gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Soft drinks, right? But you can, oops, I'm gonna back up. I'm gonna hit back again. And this time, I'm gonna go back to the top. I'm gonna do my simple search again. I could do soft drinks. After Prohibition, it goes to taverns in the directory. So I'm giving you a little hint there that after Prohibition, it goes to taverns. So let's go here now. So 1948, we're past Prohibition, right? And there's taverns. That's not what I wanted there. Yep, hold on. Let's get back. There was I thought I had a listing of the taverns. There we go. So there we go. 50s, it kind of goes back to taverns. But you can see, okay, there's our 100 taverns again. 4 pages of listing, right? But for about 12 years there, soft drinks. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. So that's one thing. let's go back to these collections here. And your city directories, full text searchable. So again, if you want to find out where your grandparents lived in La Crosse, you don't know necessarily, you search that name, you're going to be able to find it, right? Search last name, and then you might have to sift through. If it's a common name, you might have a few pages worth. If it's an uncommon name, it might bring you right to the right person immediately on a particular year. So these other, let's see, what else do I want to highlight? So city directories was a big one that you can just have fun using and searching and finding things, right? Back to the 1860s. You've got local church histories. Let's look at that here. So a lot of what these are will be the 50-year anniversary, the 100-year anniversary, the 150-year anniversary booklets of these things. Again, a lot of those will have a pretty substantial history written into those anniversary celebrations. So those books get used quite frequently for folks, not only for local history, learning about the church themselves, but church histories are a great genealogy resource, right? Because if your ancestor was never in the paper, they didn't get arrested for anything, they weren't a prominent business person, they weren't involved necessarily in a social organization where their name would show up in the paper to learn about them, maybe they were involved in their church, right? So then you can see things there and learn a little bit about them there. So again, what those look like, here's the 100th anniversary of Our Savior's Lutheran. You know, these are beautiful, a lot of times nice colored images for some things, nice photos. So again, if Alan Anderson was an ancestor of yours, and he, again, was maybe not a prominent for any other reason, all of a sudden, oh, there he is. He was the president of the Board of Trustees of Our Savior's Lutheran at this time. That may be a photo you've never seen before, right? The one taken for the church directory. So interesting things to think about there. Let's go back here again. I'm going to go back to the collections. Let's see, where else did I want to hit? Oh, music. We're going to go there. So on the music tab, there are a few, again, mostly these are books and photos that you're seeing here, but there are a few audio things. We've got a few Lindy Shannon interview items. Lindy Shannon was a local DJ and radio producer, so you can actually hear his voice. Anybody heard his voice before? You guys, if you've lived here long enough, you probably did, right?
Without a doubt, the first group that caught my attention here in the Cooley region area were the TJs. I'll never forget the afternoon that Jack Roebuck came into the Light Piano Company, very shy and bashful as he is, and asked me if I would like to listen to a group of boys that he got together. They had just listened to many Elvis Presley and Gene Vincent recordings, and, well, they'd like to make a tape and see how they sounded. I thought it was a good idea, so that night, the three boys came into Lighthouse. That would have been Jack Roebuck, Tom Terry, and Bob Petros. These boys sat down and we started to work the tape recorder, and one of the first numbers that they recorded was a tune called Don't Be Cruel, which was very big by Elvis Presley at the time. I looked through all of my tapes at home, and finally, way over on the side with a little dust on it, I found the original recording that was made by the TJs back in about 1956. I know Roebuck would really get after me if he knew I was playing this one tonight, but it certainly holds a lot of fond memories for yours truly.
I'll play one more little bit from him here.
Well, hi there, everyone. This is Lindy from Lighthouse. In the background, you're listening to three fellas who just got together for a session. All it took was a set of drums, a lead guitar, and a bass. No plans of just exactly what was going to happen, but they got together with a tape recorder, and this is what came out. I think that this is a basic idea of what prompts most teenagers to go into this type of music. And tonight we present a Thursday night special. We certainly hope that you enjoy this evening's presentation on the Lindy Shannon Show, featuring all of the top groups here in the Cooley region.
There's even a couple of videos. So there is a 45 minute, close to 45-minute, 45-minute history of La Crosse rock and roll video that was put together. And you can pull so some photos, some audio from local bands. Some history of the organizations. So you guys can all, this is just a teaser. You can enjoy those at home yourself now if you would like to, as we got some other things. But that's the music tab of these collections, right? There's just a handful of things there. Oral histories and audio recordings, parks and recreation. So La Crosse River Marsh and Hickson Forest Trails map, an old map, right? So it wouldn't really line up with the way the trails are now necessarily, but to compare that sort of thing there. We've got sports and education, sports and schools and education. One thing I'd like to highlight here is this Mariel Exodus project. So this was a grant project that one of my colleagues, Janie DeRocher, worked on, where she and some folks from UWL actually went to Fort McCoy and went through their photos of the 1980 Mariel boat lift. And if you're not really aware of that, what happened was in 1980, a substantial number of Cuban citizens they took over an embassy in Havana, and basically Castro said, if you want to go, go. So then he opened up a port, and 125,000 Cubans were transported from Cuba to the United States. So Cuban Americans in southern Florida said, hey, we're going to help these folks get out of Cuba. They're here. Those folks are already here. Great life in America. They just started sending boats to Cuba. And for months, boats were sent to Cuba to this one port, and people were just taken to the United States. Military got involved. It was a pretty big crisis of human movement for President Carter at the time. Military got involved, started kind of processing at locations around the country. Fort McCoy was one of them. And so thousands and thousands of Cuban migrants ended up at Fort McCoy to be processed, to help them find a place to live in the United States, much like what was done with Afghan refugees a few years ago. So that happened there. So 130, 150 photos of that time are here. So again, they can be kind of browsed here with some very, very dynamic, excellent images that you can look at here. What I want to point out is, in the short time that I have left here, is there is another website. It's on the handout. You can see it yourself. It's lacrossehistory.org. It's called Lacrosse History Unbound. And this is like everything we've been showing you today. This is kind of a place to search. And this website is not only our collections, LPLA, La Crosse Public Library Archives, but it's also UWL, Murphy Library Special Collections. So it's the two biggest organizations in town that have digital materials together in this one place, okay? So Recollection, Wisconsin is the whole state. Digital Public Library of America is the whole country. La Crosse History Unbound is just La Crosse Public Library Archives and Murphy Library, UWL. And what's beautiful about this website is there's a little more curation to this website, right? It's not just search and find a photo and figure out the context. This one has a little bit more of that context built in. So archivists at Public Library Archives, archivists at UWL Murphy Library have done the work of helping you understand these materials a little bit. So on that particular Mariel Exodus project, this website includes kind of interactive materials and much more explanation, right? So just an understanding of what's going on. So you've got kind of a description of what I just told you. And then there's also some multimedia things here. So Wisconsin Public Radio reports about this, some of the images, again, more description. You can kind of just read it like you would read an article, from a newspaper about this, and that includes the images. And so then if you go back, I think it's at the bottom too. Sorry for my fast scrolling. I'm just trying to get to the bottom. You can go to the next thing, right? So it just kind of leads you on the story. So then here's the history of Fort McCoy. And then you go to the next one, the detention and uncertainty of these folks. Some of the folks kind of ended up staying there quite a lot longer than they wanted to. And so then there's that kind of story there. And there's the challenges of kind of unrestricted migration into the country. What does that mean for where they're going to live? And so that goes through that. So just wanted to highlight that one in particular because that is brand new and it's an interesting story. And if you lived through it, you may know some things, but I guarantee you would learn a lot more about it with this, with the visuals, with the curation, with the explanation of the project here. So that's that one. And again, that's on your handout too. So that's just a little diversion from Recollection, Wisconsin specifically. But I wanted to highlight that there. So we could talk about a lot of other things, but I know we're running short on time. So I open it up for questions here for myself and Kristen. Yeah.
That's a good question.
This is a good question. So the question was, do we keep everything we digitize or do we throw it out? The question, the answer to that is almost never are we actually throwing out the original. We still will keep the original. The digitization is for access, right? It's not because the thing that we're digitizing is in terrible shape, it's molding, we just got to get it out of our building so it doesn't affect our other collections. We digitize for access, to give people access 24 hours a day on a digital platform. So it's not like we have to get rid of anything. It's for that reason. Yeah.
Besides frequency of use, are there any other criteria for what deciding what?
Oh, that's
So
a
the
good question.
Question was, is there any other, besides frequency of use, is there other criteria for why we digitize? That's the biggest one, for sure. For us anyway, that may be different for other institutions. For us, being in a public library, being open every day, we are already fairly accessible, right? You can come and see our stuff anytime if you live here. The things we're choosing to digitize to make available are the things that we hear and get questions about a lot, so that we can, so not that we don't want to see folks come in and still use that materials, but we're making it available to those. And it's also particularly what might be of interest to somebody who doesn't live here, but still wants to do research for La Crosse. That makes a difference. So I don't know if you have another.
No, I mean, I was just going to pull up this La Crosse History Unbound so that they can look at that while we're talking.
Oh, sure.
Make sure they
Yes, that's the homepage of the La
watch it.
Crosse History Unbound, yes.
And different historical societies and libraries have different reasons for digitizing. It's mostly frequency of use and interest from the community, but also sometimes if something is in really bad shape, you know, a really old book or an article or something, it reduces further damage if people aren't looking at it physically in person, if they can look at it online instead. Sometimes, you know, organizations get a grant to digitize on a specific subject, just like the Marion expedition that you were talking about. And it's mostly frequency of use.
Oh. For us, we yes, so we definitely have, you can contact us via email, right from our website. It's basically just a form you'd fill out that sends us an email. You'd give us your contact information in that too, that we can then respond to you and it kind of work back and forth with you. There are some things that we will do, especially if you don't live here necessarily, that we can kind of quickly answer and quickly work up. But most of the time, we're saying these are the resources we have to help you answer that. Please come in and take a look. So, yep.
So the question was, is there a request form if you're looking for something specific, and I assume you can't find it online, and so you're like, can you please go look in your boxes and boxes and boxes of items back there and see what you can find? Most organizations, in fact, all of them, will do exactly what Scott just said. And if you can't find the organization that you're looking for, you can always contact Recollection Wisconsin and we can help point you in that direction. Same thing, there's a contact form on our website too.
And we can as well.
Yep.
So being your local public library, we're happy to help you
Absolutely.
find the organization that might answer your question.
Public library. And I was just so pleased a couple of years ago when we live in a home that was built in 1893.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
We live in a home that was built in 1893, so I wanted to get the history. So I came down and I went to Archives and I said, where do I research? And they said, well, we'll do that for you. So a week later, I had a packet of 21 pages and it cost me $2.10. I can't say enough for this library.
So Bonnie highlights the one, oh, thank you.
Oh, no.
She highlights the one service that we actually do, the one research service we actually do for patrons is a property history. And that is because it's touching so many different collections that to show you and to teach you how to do it would be quite a bit more effort than if we did that ourselves. So that is the one resource, that is the one research services that we will say, yes, we will do that for you. Give us a couple of weeks. She said 1 week. That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
But usually we say 2 to 3 weeks for that service.
And you also pointed out that this is, this is one of the things you're happy to pay taxes for. I will also tell you Recollection Wisconsin is funded through the digital public, DPI. There's so many acronyms, the Department of Public Instruction through the state. So your taxes help support that too. And all the local historical societies and the libraries that scan and put things in there, it's free to them because the state budget covers it.
Yeah.
Oh. We don't have an office. So I live in Boston and I work from my house. The organization that I work for, we all work remotely. So we don't actually have any items because Scott and other archivists around the state and librarians, they do all the scanning and then we just bring it together all online. So we don't have an office. Yeah, there's about 15 other people that work for the organization that I work for, which is, this gets a little complicated, but it's called WiLS, which is Wisconsin Library Services. And Wisconsin Library Services also helps manage all the ebook collections in the whole state. So if you ever use Libby or get your audiobooks or your ebooks, we manage that. So we're project managers, basically. We do that for the school digital library collections and some other things.
Recollection Wisconsin is one of the projects that they manage.
Mhm.
And Kristen is kind of the point person, I would say, for Recollection Wisconsin. Of the 15 people that work for WiLS,
Yeah.
she is the point person for this project.
So if you write to Recollection Wisconsin on the website, you're going to get me. So now you know who's on the other end of the screen. Other questions?
Okay, great. Well, we'll stick around here. I know 11 o'clock is your out time for a lot of folks, but I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes. If you have any other questions that you'd rather just come talk to us about, we'll be up here.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.